Hi, everybody. Little technical difficulties here at the Timothy Group, but thanks for joining us today. We appreciate your time, and we're looking forward for this great conversation today. Um, Appreciate your patience, and we are ready to jump in. You know, the whole topic today is making strategic thank you phone calls. My goodness, it's December 10th already, and you're thinking, I don't have any more time to do that kind of stuff. I should do that stuff in January. And we want to talk to you today about the opportunity right now to make a year-end difference by making some strategic phone calls. I want to welcome you to the our webinar today, and I'm joined with three of the best-looking fundraising consultants I know. Um, so that kind of shows that I don't get out much. But Rich Cummins, Jerry Grimes, and Kent Vanderwood. We're having difficulty with Kent, but we'll get him on our webinar here soon.
Hi, everybody.
We
Good
were going to
morning.
do a webinar poll, but we're waiting to do that because of technical issues here. But we want to just talk about this concept of making strategic donor calls. Um, And would ask you, as an organization, do you make thank you calls in December? Some of you make them, some of you don't have never done that before. And we want to encourage you that this is a great opportunity. So I want to introduce my panelists here in more depth. So Rich Cummins, he is the Timothy Group president. He's been making strategic thank you calls for 20 years. Um, Jerry Grimes is our vice president for client services. Jerry specializes in first-time donor engagement and knows how to turn one gift into a lifetime relationship. And Kent Vanwood, that you'll see here in a minute, is our vice president for people and culture. He works with major donors and boards and understands the long game of cultivation. So we're going to talk about three different thank you call styles, but one goal. The goal is to build relationships that are going to last. So let's get to work. So first of all, Rich, you're up. Why should we make thank you calls?
Well, thank you calls are incredibly important, Ron. They allow us to stay connected with the donor. They show gratitude, which is very, very important, not only in fundraising, but even in what we believe as far as our faith is concerned. They connect us to the donor and it makes it more meaningful. The relationship continues to advance that way.
That's great. That's great. Can you share some significant call that you made that turned into something?
Absolutely. And I apologize in advance. In this cold, blustery day, I've got a little bit of a stuffiness going on and a cold. So forgive me if I'm a little froggy today. But here's the deal. So one couple in particular gave a significant gift to a ministry that I was connected with. It was about a $15,000 gift, and it came out of nowhere. They'd given before, but this one was specifically bigger than what we would have thought previously. And so I reached out to them and set up an appointment. We met, and the donor asked me a significant question. The donor said, and it was a husband and wife, uh, what's the vision look like? What does the future look like? We're glad to give you that gift, but we'd like to make more of a sizable contribution, but we don't know where you're going. And this was all part of the thank you process, and they hit me with that question. So I was able to tell them about the campaign, which was going into the silent phase before we'd even gotten to the silent phase. And so it led to an eventual $1.5 million pledge. Thank you for $15,000 led to a transformational gift for this organization. It was just amazing.
That's a great story. I appreciate that a lot. Um, Jose, Jerry, let's talk about the numbers here. What are the numbers tell us about the retention when people receive our calls versus when they don't?
Well, Ron, when we look at the data, it's pretty compelling. We can see that if you just track this across all the organizations we work with, donors who receive a thank you call within about 2 days, 48 hours or so of their gift being received, their retention rate, in other words, we hold on to them, that retention rate becomes between 65 and 70%. So if they don't get a call, then you're losing about half of them. So it's almost double. You can double your retention rate if you make the calls.
So really, these thank you calls aren't just a nice thing to do, but you're building your donor base and your contacts for next year.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be the perfect call. It's just some kind of a phone call really will make a difference in the lives of these donors. And they'll just remember you. And that's the most important thing, especially to first-time donors.
That's super. Kit Vanderwood, great to finally see you. Thanks
Yeah,
for joining us.
I made it.
Tell us the biggest mistake you see ministries make during December.
Well, Ron, I think the biggest mistake is treating December like a transaction factory. Organizations are so focused on getting their year-end goal that they forget there are actual people on the other line, on the other end of the line that they're talking to that are behind these gifts. So they'll send an automated gift receipt or an email receipt of some sort. But what they're really missing is that December is when donors are already thinking about their giving and about your ministry. And so it's important that they hear from you.
That's great. That's great. Okay. So what we want to talk about is we want to talk about how donor calls are building your database, building your strategy really for the next year, building what you wanted to accomplish for January because we've made that touch in December. So basically, you're trying to do two things at once. You're stewarding the gift they just made, and you're listening for the next conversation that you want to have next year. Well, let's talk about the blueprint here. Let's talk about who and when that. Let's get practical. So, Jerry, let's move into. So it's December 10th, right? I just pulled up the report. I've got 500 donors who gave me last week. I've got 3 staff people. I've got. What do I do? I've got so much to do and not enough time to do it. Who do I call first?
That's a great question. And the first thing not to do is to panic, right? You also need to look at this strategically, and I would use a tiering system. And here's kind of how to think about it. Maybe tier one are those non-negotiables. Now, these are the people that you know from their giving amount or their history that you really do need to call them within 24 hours to 48 hours, no exceptions. And then that tier is usually made up of donors who give something like $500 or more at a single time. That could be a little lower for some organizations and quite higher for some other organizations. Donors who significantly increase their gift, that's really important, like a 50% increase over the year before the last gift. And then those lapsed donors. Who came back. So they hadn't given with you all in 25, but they gave some time in 24. They're coming back, or maybe even more lapsed than that. Those people are the top priority.
So why those 3? What are we doing about those 3?
Well, they all represent movement and change. So you've got your first time donor, and all the research, as I said earlier, points to we can really help make them multiple time donors and not just be a first time donor with just one thank you call. So that's obvious. Then the donor who's increasing their gift, they're telling you, hey, I really believe in your mission. I'm on board. And they're also maybe saying a signal to you that they want to be even more engaged than they were last year. So you need to get a hold of those folks and say thank you, to maybe explore where that relationship can go, and maybe encourage them, throw a little gasoline on that fire, if you will. And then, and you certainly need to find out why they're asking that or why they're signaling that. And then, of course, the lapsed donors who came back, you want to reward that, and you want them to acknowledge that they have come back, and you want to do something to keep them engaged. And a thank you call is definitely a way to keep them engaged.
Okay, so that's tier 1. It's kind of capturing the momentum that the donor has expressed. What about tier 2? What are you going to do there?
Well, this is going to be your most loyal base. Now, these donors were given over 5 years or more consecutively. They've made milestone gifts. You know, someone who gave exactly $1,000 or $5,000, those round numbers, awful signal thoughtfulness. Major monthly donors, these are your most reliable partners. They're with you year in and year out, month by month. And then also people who gave and attended an event this year. They're obviously engaged, and not just with money, not just with their checkbook, but also their hearts.
That's good. And tier 3, what are you going to do there?
Well, you want to call within a week. It's still timely. Tier three is everyone else. These are consistent annual donors. Like I said earlier, they're first-time donors under $500. They're still valuable, lower priority. You can call them, when you have bandwidth, like I said, within a week or even more, depending on what your resources are. If you do the first two tier in a timely way, then tier three can almost like take care of itself or be worked in at a later time.
So you're trying to be strategic here. This isn't a sentimental thing. You're just trying to focus on the ones that are getting the highest return on your time investment.
Right. And, we don't have all the time in the world. Time is an important resource, and we want to use it to the organizations and the missions, best benefit. And that often translates into spending a little bit more time with the biggest impact we can make, which is tier one and tier two. You're just really maximizing impact with limited resources.
Okay, everybody, we're going to do a little quick poll. I want you to get involved here, so get ready. So I want you to tell us which donor segment is your top priority right now. You got four options: your first-time donors, increased gifts, lapsed donors who return, or long-time donors. Go ahead and vote right now. All right, this is good. This is good. For some reason, I can't see the results. So I don't know. Oh, there it is. I see it. All right, longtime loyal donors seems to be the number one choice. That's great. Followed by first-time donors and increased gifts. So thank you so much. I think that's great to have some sort of sense of who am I going to call and when and how. All right, so thank you very much for that poll results. All right, so now what we want to do, some of you chose first-time donors, which I think the second choice. So Jerry, talk about first-time donors again.
Well, those longtime donors are very important. You certainly want to call them, and you know who those people are, but really do invest quite a bit of your resources in first-time donors. And here's why, because those folks are literally sitting at a fork in the road. They are either going to continue to give to you and become lifetime donors with you, which is what we want, or they're going to take a left turn maybe, and you'll never hear from them again. And this is the juncture where you can make a difference with just making them feeling very appreciated. And unfortunately, the industry average is that only about 25% of first-time donors ever give again. That's why you call them. You can push that to 50 or even higher. So yeah, I think it's time for the first-time donors to be in your tier one.
So that's good advice. A lot of you said long time. Those are easy calls. Those are calls that people love you, but really adjusting your focus to get to the first time donors may yield more long-term results for you. All right, so let's get back to the call itself. What are we going to do? And so here's where people get nervous. Now, what do I say? I'm sitting at my desk. I got a list of 50 donors. I'm staring at my phone. What comes out of my mouth? Rich, let's talk with you. Walk us through your approach.
Sure, Ron. So my approach is really more relational in nature. It's what I call conversational warmth. We are human beings, not human doings. And so we really want to be able to relate well to others. So we're not reading from a script here. We're actually having human conversation. But, there is a structure. I do follow a structure every time I go, and it has three parts. The first part is you really want to thank them. So important. A huge predictor of a next gift is just a very good thank you. You want to connect, and then you want to listen. And this listening part is very key. Being an active listener in the conversation shows you really care and you're paying attention to your donor. And so let me show you what this sounds like. I'm going to show you a sample script if you want to bring that up on the screen for us, Ron. So this is a 5-minute thank you call script, and it has an opening, and that opening is about 30 seconds. And so here you would see it. Hi, my name is Rich Cummins, and I represent the Hope Rescue Mission. Do you have a moment to talk? And then I'm going to wait for a yes. So, and I'm calling for one reason when I talk to them. I'm saying I'm calling you for one reason. just a thank you for your gracious donation of $1,000. No ask, just gratitude. And that's important. You're going to even specify that with them. You're going to say, I'm not here to ask you, I'm just here to thank you. The next part is the question. That lasts about 15 seconds. And you'd say something like this: I'm curious, what motivated you to give to Hope Rescue Mission? Then here's a critical part. You're going to stop talking and just listen. So this listening part, it's about 2 to 3 minutes. You want to give space in the conversation there. You want to let them talk and you want to follow their lead. You want to respond naturally to what they share, but you're going to actually ask a follow-up question. And this is gold right here. Having a good question that stops, makes them ponder, and then respond with information that's going to be really important for you. And so here's some examples like, tell me more about that. Or how long have you been connected to us here at the Hope Rescue Mission? Another one, what matters most about our mission? Why do you care? And so those are really critical to create some space in that conversation and to pause and to hear from your donor. Then you're going to close it. You're going to wrap it up, 30 seconds. So thank you so much for sharing that, and that your partnership means the world to us. Your support is making a real difference. So thanks again, John. Have a wonderful day. And if it's around Christmas like we are now, Merry Christmas. So you're going to remember some things here. Keep it conversational, not a script. You're going to listen more than you talk. You don't want to apologize for making the call in the first place. This isn't an apology. You want to just have a real relationship and end with gratitude, not an ask. This is about gratitude here.
That's great. Well, thanks. That's super. Rich, so your framework is something anybody can use, but here's what I want to do. I want each of you, all three of our panelists, to show your version of this call, because you all have different styles. And the reality is different callers have different personalities and different donors respond to different approaches. So let's talk about three styles. And I'm going to call it the Rich Cummins approach and the Jerry Grimes approach and the Kent Vanderwood approach. So Rich, why don't you go first?
Again, my approach is very relational. It's about being genuinely curious and relationally warm. So I use a basic script, and I'll share that with you in a second. And you're going to make it yours. You don't want to just adopt what I say in my tone. You want to put it in your tone. And so let's play it out for everybody. Ron, let's do a role play. You be the donor. You just gave $1,000 to a rescue mission, and I'm calling on you. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Great.
Hi, Ron. This is Rich Cummins with Hope Rescue Mission. Did I catch you at an okay time? Nice hat.
Oh yeah, sure. What's this about?
Well, I'm calling you for one reason, and that's just to tell you thank you. I saw your gift of $1,000 come in this week, and I wanted you to hear from me personally how much that really made a difference. It really means a lot to us. I'm not here to ask you for anything. I just want to say thanks.
Well, thanks. That's nice of you to call.
Well, you're welcome, Ron. And I'm curious, what moved you to support the mission in the first place? What was on your heart when you made that gift?
Well, honestly, my brother struggled with addiction a few years ago. He's doing better now, but I saw what he went through. When I heard about your program, it just kind of hit home with me.
Man, Ron, I am so grateful that your brother is doing much better. And that must have been very hard, a really tough season to walk through with your family. How's he doing right now?
He's good. He's been clean for 3 years and he got his life back together.
Well, that's amazing. You know, Ron, your gift's going to help other people, other guys that are walking the same road as your brother. I don't know if you've seen our 6-month residential program or not, but we're seeing about 70% of our residents successfully transition back into stable housing and employment. Your $1,000 is literally helping write stories like your brother's right now.
Wow, that's really great to hear. I'm glad I could help.
Well, we are grateful, Ron. And hey, listen, we do a volunteer night once a quarter where donors can actually come and meet some of the residents and see the facility. Would you ever be interested in doing something like that?
Yeah, actually, I think I would like to do that. Sounds good.
Perfect. Make sure you're wearing that hat because
Yeah.
that hat will get you a free entrance into the mission.
Oh
And
man.
I'll make note of that, and someone will reach out to you probably for our February one that's coming up. And so we'll have somebody contact you real soon. So Ron, thanks again, not just for your gift, but for sharing your family story with me. Really means a lot to me and the mission and the people that we serve.
Hey, thanks for calling. I really appreciate it.
You bet, Ron. Take care.
Okay, that felt pretty good, except the hat. So tell me, it felt really natural, but you were doing some very specific things here. So break down what you just did.
Absolutely. Well, you notice I didn't apologize. This wasn't asking, this wasn't, apologizing or feeling bad or about making a call. So I didn't say anything like, I won't keep you long. It wasn't any of that. I just wanted it to be relational. So I stated my purpose clearly. There's no ask here, just gratitude. Made sure that I made that clear. That lowers the defense system immediately. Secondly, I asked an open-ended question and then I stopped talking. I paused. I gave some space. Kind of like when you ask a donor if they'll give. Same thing. When you make that question, give room in the conversation for the donor to talk. I asked the donor what moved you to give, and that's gold. It actually invites a story. And when he shared about his brother, man, that was big stuff right there. And it could be. And I've had those. I've had those conversations. In fact, I asked one donor years ago on a pretty big project. It was for another rescue mission, believe it or not, $23 million rescue mission. I was going in to ask this donor for $500,000. But before I even got there, I just wanted to know why he gave. And before you know it, that donor reached into his closet at work, pulled out his sash with all of his Boy Scout badges on it, and began to tell me about his history and his mom and growing up and all these good things. We had this real moment, but that never would have happened if I didn't ask for a question or ask him a question. So don't rush past it. Just acknowledge that question and let that person feel heard. Then I connected his gift to the impact. So I didn't just say, thank you for your money. I said, this $1,000 is helping guys like your brother, and that's meaningful. Finally, Ron, I said, I invited him into something. So that's where the volunteer event came. And so not just another ask, but actually a relationship opportunity. The volunteer night is a soft next step that deepens the engagement. So you're not asking for money here, but you are inviting them to the next phase of relationship.
And the whole conversation takes 3 or 4 minutes.
About that, maybe even less. The key is the question. If you ask a good question and then listen, the donor does most of the talking. Like with this gentleman I mentioned to you, and it did lead to a $500,000 gift, by the way.
Yeah.
He spent probably 15 to 20 minutes talking about his backstory. Never heard that before. In fact, I'd asked him for money 5 times before that in my career and gotten smaller gifts. But once we made this connection, man, that was gold. And so that's something that you're going to be, hopefully you can apply and move forward with that too. So
Thank you. That's awesome. Okay. All right, Jerry, you're up. So let's talk about your approach. How would you approach things differently than Rich?
Well, I love Rich's warm relational approach, but some donors, especially the younger ones that I tend to work with, and the first-time donors, kind of require maybe energy and enthusiasm to really get them involved. And I'll never forget when I was running a nonprofit, we went all the way down to the $100 level with our thank you calls. And I made a call to such a donor, first-time donor, gave us $100, didn't know who he was. He was just a phone number and a name and maybe an email address. And I learned in the conversation what he does for a living. He owns a company that buys and sells jet aircraft for businesses like Learjets and corporate jets. And I'm thinking that's probably a high income position that he has. And I began to cultivate a relationship with him, and he turned into a $10,000 a year donor to our annual fund. So a $100 to a $10,000 a year donor, that is an incredible thing. And you get to do that when you make these calls to people you don't know and get over the fear factor with it and just engage them and say thank you.
That's great. So show us what it sounds like. Let's do the same scenario. Let's do a role play, $1,000 gift to the rescue mission. But maybe this time it's a first-time donor. Maybe you're in their 30s. Let's try it.
Okay, great. Well, you might want to put the hat on if you're going to be in your 30s, because I think maybe put it on backward. There you go. That's good. All right. So, hi, Ron. This is Jerry Grimes with Hope Rescue Mission. How you doing today?
Yeah, this is Ron.
And Ron, do you have just a quick minute? I want to go over something with you real shortly.
Oh, yeah. What's up?
Well, I just had to call you and thank you for your first gift to Hope. We really do appreciate it. That first time gift of $1,000, man, I just want to say thank you. That is huge.
Yeah, no problem. I'm glad to do it. Glad to be involved.
Well, that's awesome. So, real quick, I just have to know what caught your attention?
I don't know, but I saw the guy talking on Instagram. I saw how his life was turned around and just kind of seemed legit. So I just want to get involved.
Well, that's Marcus. And I know that gentleman really, really well. He graduated our program 2 years ago. Now he's a shift supervisor at a logistic company. And he's got his own apartment again. And he's reconnected with his family. And it's just been a total transformation. And Ron, your gift is going to help serve guys like Marcus. We've got 45 residents right now in our program. And your $1,000 just funded a month of housing and meals for somebody like Marcus.
Wow, that's really cool.
Well, it really is, and perfect. I know that that you can really help out a lot in the future, and I'd like to know if I've got your best email address so that we can send you a monthly update with more stories like Marcus's.
Yeah, sure. It's ron.haas@email.com.
Okay, Ron, great. Thank you. Well, I know you're going to love it. And seriously, thanks again for jumping in as a first-time donor. We don't take that for granted at all. You're now part of something that's really changing lives every single day. And we just want to welcome you to the Hope Rescue Mission family.
Wow. Thanks. I appreciate the call.
You got it, Ron. And there again, I stumbled on my words and whatever, but you're going to do that too. It does not have to be a perfect phone call. The
Right.
idea is to keep enthusiasm and energy flowing so that that
Right.
donor can catch your enthusiasm over the phone line.
Right. But there was a little different vibe. I mean, you approached it differently. So let's talk through your philosophy. What's going on in your mind as you talk with this guy?
Well, again, I'm focused a lot on first-time donors, and I feel like that with energy and enthusiasm, we can confirm that they made a good choice. I talked earlier about them being at that intersection of continuing to give or not continuing to give. The thank you and just really being excited and sharing something positive, they can begin to feel that enthusiasm too, and they can also, make that right decision to give again.
So it felt like your approach was a little faster paced, more enthusiastic, kind of concrete. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, I don't really linger on too much on the emotional stuff. I keep it upbeat. I move from one thing to another. A lot of younger donors in particular, this is just how they have conversations, how they interact. And so I think if you keep it moving, that's a good idea. I also wanted to get his email, and I was just working with one of my clients yesterday, and they were really taken aback by this fact. But over the years, we've learned that donors sometimes, especially first-time donors, don't give us the best email address, or
Right.
sometimes it gets entered wrong. And so you always want to confirm contact information when you have a donor on the phone. And that's another reason why we did that. And then following up with an email that's going to give him more stories like the one he enjoyed about Marcus, that only made sense. It was a natural progression.
That's cool. Thanks. Thanks, Jerry. I appreciate.
And one more word, I just think that praying with some of these donors is not a bad idea either. So just on occasion, especially
Right.
in a situation like Rich's, we could pray for his brother.
Right.
We could pray for anything going on in for the gentleman that we called about Marcus. Just on and on. I think prayer can also be a big part of this.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Okay, Kent, you're the third approach. Tell me about what you do differently. So you kind of work with major donors and board members. How do you approach this conversation differently?
Well, thanks, Ron. So every approach works. Again, it depends on your donor, and some of it depends on your style and what you prefer. But my approach is what I call strategic depth. So I'm working in this case with donors who have given 5,000, 10,000, 50,000. These are people who are thinking institutionally. They're not just giving because they feel good. They're investing because they're concerned about the long-term potential of the mission. So my calls tend to be a little bit more thoughtful. I'm listening for strategic alignment. So here's an example. While I was working full-time as a chief development officer 10 plus years ago, I was at the end of the year, calendar year, doing thank you calls just like this, which I'll comment on again later. But I was spending most nights the last 2 weeks of the year making year-end calendar calls. And I called on a couple that had given $1,000 during that calendar year, and I thanked them. In closing, he mentioned that he and his wife would love to talk after the first of the year because they were looking at reallocating and redistributing some of their giving. So when I followed up with them in January, they agreed to be part of a new film project that we were offering at the ministry, and they committed $50,000 to it. Now, I'm not sure that that gift would have come had I not made the contact in December and thanked them for the $1,000.
That's super. Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, so it started off with just to say thank you, and then bang, you got this amazing gift later on.
Right.
Okay, so let's do the role play with you. My son was a youth pastor in Hong Kong, so this is the emblem of Hong Kong. But sorry to Marty O'Gwin because he gave me this great North Greenville hat that I left at home. But it was red. It was just gonna highlight the whole thing. But maybe next time, Marty. So Kent, let's do a role play.
So, hey, Ron, this is Kent Vanderwood with Hope Gospel Mission. Is this a good time for a quick call?
Sure, Kent. What can I do for you?
Well, first of all, I want to personally thank you for your extraordinary gift of $25,000 this year, Ron. That's a game-changing investment for us. I wanted to hear from you directly how much it matters.
Well, I appreciate the call, Kent. I honestly, I think you guys do great frontline work, and I just want to be a part of it. So thanks.
So I know you've been a partner for several years, Ron, and your support has been very remarkable. I would like to hear a little bit about when making this gift, what was on your heart? What are you hoping that we accomplish?
I'm concerned about long-term sustainability. I want to know that the mission's going to be thriving 5 years from now. I want to know that you're still here, you're going strong. Those things kind of matter to me.
That's an important question, and it's one that we're asking ourselves all the time. So let me tell you what we're working on. We're in the process of building a $2 million endowment that will provide stable funding for core operations. We're also diversifying our income. We've launched a social enterprise that's employing program graduates, which both generates income and provides job training.
That's a smart thing to do, and I like it that you're thinking ahead.
We are, Ron, and I'd love to continue this conversation with you in person. I know that you've got experience in nonprofit governance, and frankly, we need people like you thinking with us and helping us think through the future. Would you be open to having coffee in January? I'd love to talk to you and hear your thoughts on what we should be doing and where we should be heading.
I'd be interested in that. Let's set something up.
Wonderful. I'm going to follow up with an email this week and we'll find a time. Again, Ron, thank you, not just for your financial leadership, but for caring about the long-term health of the mission. Partners like you make sustainability possible.
Thanks, Kent. I look forward to our next conversation.
Me too. Let's talk soon.
All right. So that was great. Very different from Rich and Jerry. So what were you doing there?
Well, first of all, I'm going to mention three things, Ron, in this call. First of all, I was honoring the significance of the gift. $25,000 is not a casual decision. It's a major decision. It's a major gift. And by calling it game-changing and remarkable and extraordinary, that language does matter with major donors. Secondly, I asked a very strategic question. What are you hoping we accomplish? That's different from what moved you to give. Hope you can see the difference there. I'm inviting them to think about outcomes and vision. And when he said sustainability, that opened it right up and I could talk to him about the things we're doing. Third, and this is critical, I invited him into a leadership conversation. Coffee in January. That's not just stewardship, that's cultivation. I'm listening for board potential, campaign leadership, endowment prospects. The call is setting up the next three conversations.
So really, you're playing a long game here. You're trying to develop for future conversations.
Exactly, Ron. Major donors need you to validate their decision the same way first-time donors do. they need you to show you that you need to show them that you're thinking institutionally and that they can trust you with the dollars they give. That's what this call accomplishes.
That's great. Okay, everybody. Here's another chat prompt for you. Which style resonates most with your personality? And so, what I want you to do, we need to show the screen. Look at this. I want you to, in the chat, drop a fire for Rich, drop a muscle for Jerry, and drop a target for Kent. And the muscle for Jerry, I think, is the most appropriate one. But
Yeah.
so just vote in the chat and tell us which style felt good to you that you would resonate with. Which one would you use? All right. So, oh, look at that. They're everywhere. Brent, I see everywhere, but I don't see all the answers. So I'm just going to assume that there's great. Oh, here we go. There it is. There's the answers. Oh, man. Jerry, I think Jerry's winning. Well, I can't tell. Nice. It's fun. Thanks for playing along with us. Thanks for playing the game today. Okay, so let's move on. So this is fantastic. We got 3 styles. We got Rich, that's conversational warmth, deep listening, personal connection. Jerry, enthusiastic energy, affirming, upbeat, concrete. Kent, strategic depth, thoughtful, institutional, long-term. So the question is, guys, which one should I use?
Well, it's all about the fire, baby. It's the fire.
Okay.
Actually,
All right.
the answer is, though, it really depends on the donor, and it depends on your personality. What kind of personality do you have? If you're naturally warm, if you're relational by nature, then use my approach. If you're energetic and action-oriented, then Jerry's approach might be better for you. If you're strategic and thoughtful, then maybe you do what Kent does. But really, it's also somewhat situational. So you may have to adapt your personality to the situation and the personality of the person you're meeting with. But I prefer the fire.
Oh, yeah.
Well, okay, bring the fire. But the truth is, these are frameworks, and we can use pieces of all 3 of them and come up with your own style. And as you said, shift into on the fly into the right one based on the donor that you're talking to. But again, they're not rigid scripts, they're frameworks. And I love all 3 of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say same thing. The basic structure is the same. You thank them, you ask a question, you listen, you respond naturally, and then you invite them to the next step. That makes for a successful call.
That's cool. That's cool, guys. So perfect. So we put the simple script we're going to put on the screen earlier. We're going to put that in the chat as well. And so use that script word for word for your first 5 calls or so. By the 6th call, you're going to be into it and you're going to have your own voice. But the structure keeps you from freezing up or rambling. So it's nice to have a little bit of guardrails to help you keep the conversation moving. So I like that. Okay, so Kent, let's talk about the follow-up. So I made this great connection. So what do I do after I hang up the phone?
That's a great question. The call is only valuable if you capture what you learned and take action on it. So here's my system. 3 things go into your CRM immediately. First, the connection point. What did they tell you and about why they give? Ron said he's worried about sustainability. That goes into the notes. If a donor mentions their grandmother, their brother's addiction, their passion for education, write it down. That's all about relational and relationship intelligence. Secondly, donor motivation. What's driving them? Are they mission focused? Are they legacy focused? Are they impact focused? Are they community based? Understanding motivation helps you steward them appropriately. Third, next step, what flag do you need to put on this donor? Do they need an event invitation? Are they a mid-level prospect? Should someone make a major gift visit in Q1? Are they a board potential? Every call should generate a next step.
So this is great because you're not just saying thank you, you're gathering donor intelligence that informs your entire development strategy.
Exactly. And then within 24 hours, and I'll repeat that again, within 24 hours of the call, I send a follow-up email. It's short, it's personal, it references something specific from the call. Ron loved hearing about your brother. So glad he's doing well. That shows I was actually listening. It's not a form email.
Right. And so it's building your pipeline for the whole year, really.
Exactly. December calls become January meetings. January meetings become spring events, and spring events become campaign prospects. It's all connected.
That's good. All right. This is great. So let's move on to the hard stuff. What do you do when the call doesn't work out like you planned? So we're going to handle the hard stuff. So let's talk about what you're actually worried about. Uh, Again, you're sitting there with your list of 50 donors and you're thinking, what do I say? Or what if they say X? And what if this happens? Let's tackle some scenarios rapid fire. So here we go. I'm going to throw these at you and you're going to tell me what to do. So we got 500 donors and 3 staff members. I'm drowning. What am I going to do? Jerry.
Well, I feel like the first thing you need to do is take a deep breath. Really just accept the fact you're probably not going to make 500 phone calls with 3 staff people, but you can make 100 with 3 staff people and just tier it like we talked about earlier. This is where a tier system really comes into play. The second thing is before you start calling, can you expand the number of callers? Do you have committed volunteers? Certainly, this is a place to consider getting the board involved. And it doesn't take a lot of training to do these calls. We have the scripts, as you've seen. So if you can add 4 or 5 more callers, you might be able to get a little bit further down into that list. And then honestly, just live with the fact that these tier 3 donors, the $50 donor, the $100 donor, a really nice personalized email or a handwritten note, certainly, is totally appropriate and totally acceptable. And you're not failing if you don't call everyone.
I think that's a really great encouragement because it's about triage. I got to call the high impact donors, recruit some help, and use some other methods for the rest.
I really believe that's true, Ron. And I think that perfection here is the enemy of good. I think that what we need to do is just focus on making the calls that we can make well and don't beat ourselves up if we can't get all the way through the list by a certain date.
Okay, let's do another one. So the donor says, you don't need to thank me, or the donor feels or seems uncomfortable on the call. So, Rich, what do I do with a donor like that?
Well, I smile. I smile. And even though they can't see it, or even though they can't hear it, they certainly can tell that I appreciate them. And then I'll say something like, I appreciate, or they'll tell me, they'll say, I appreciate that. I'm sorry, Ron. Let me rewind that. So actually, what I do in that is I make sure that they know that they're appreciated by me. And I wanted to make the call to tell them. So you actually give without expecting recognition. That's what the person does, and that means the world to us. And so I just want to affirm that in them. That usually lands well because you're affirming their humility first and foremost, while still expressing your gratitude. And then I move on quickly. I don't linger on with thank yous. I pivot to the question that I mentioned to you earlier. So something like this. I'm curious, what drew you to us in the first place? What drew you to give? Now we're having a real conversation and not just one-sided.
So, when you kind of sense that they're not comfortable, you're honoring that, but you're still trying to complete your purpose by thanking them and engaging them.
Exactly. And honestly, most donors who say that, they're just being modest. Once you ask them the question about their connection to the mission, then they'll relax, they'll start talking. It'll be more conversational, it'll be more natural.
Okay, here's one that many ministries face. Our board is scared to death about making calls. How do I help them? They'll say, I hate asking people for money. Kent, what do we do?
Well, first thing I say is that's good news because you're not asking for money. You're only saying thank you. That really reframes the discussion and that should break down any barriers. Most board members think development equals asking, but when you tell them this is pure gratitude, half the objection goes away. Secondly, I'd lower the barrier. I'd give them 3 names, not 50, if that's what it takes. I'd give them a script printed on a note card. I offer to sit with them while they make the first call, making it as easy as possible. And third, I remind them that their voice matters and why. When a board member calls, it tells a donor that leadership cares. Your call carries weight that a staff call doesn't. That usually gets them over the hump.
So you're reframing it saying it's not an ask. You're reducing friction because you're saying, well, hey, just do 3 calls. And then you're reminding them how important it is to hear from a board member, how valuable that is.
Exactly.
That's good. Okay, here's a big one. So in your call, you discover that the donor is upset about something. And so this is kind of the nightmare scenario because I'm calling to say thank you. And the donor says, actually, I'm glad you called. And have I got something to say to you? And so what do I do? So I'm going to ask all 3 of you guys. Rich, what do I do?
Well, first of all, I attune with them. I stop and I listen. I don't defend my position. I don't try to explain it away. I don't interrupt them. I don't do that at all. I say something like this: I'm really glad you brought this up. Tell me what happened. I really want to give them a chance to vent and express their frustrations. You really drain the pain that way, and then you keep the relationship moving forward.
Yeah, that's good. It's always hard to.
And I would even say that even if you don't know the details, you can acknowledge their frustration and just listen to them, as Rich said. And then the other thing you can do, if there is a situation that can be rectified, you can take down the information and ask if it's okay if somebody follows up with them to correct the problem or talk through the situation.
That's good. Kent, what would you do?
Yeah, I follow up. Don't just pass it off. I email them the same day. Thank you for being honest with me, honest with us, honest with the staff person. And then let them know who will be calling them in the next week. Be specific about who that might be. And then I make sure it actually happens.
That's good. So basically, you kind of turn a donor that could be a potential lost donor into somebody who feels heard. And so you listen, you validate that, you kind of route them to a person that can answer their question and follow up. Follow up is a big key, just the communication. Okay, so let's talk about it's December 10th. Goodness gracious, what are you doing on a webinar? So here's what your plan is right now. We've talked about a lot, but let's make it actionable. So if you do nothing else this week, do these 3 things. Rich, tell me what the first thing is.
First thing you want to do is print the script today, like literally, like right now. Go to the chat, download it, print it, tape it to your desk, or put it on a note card. You want to make sure your first call tomorrow morning is one you're going to use this script on. Use it word for word. Don't overthink it. Just make the call.
That's good. That's good. Okay, Jerry, what's step 2?
I definitely think it goes back to triaging. Identify your top donors as soon as you possibly can by tomorrow, and pull your donor report. Go through it, go through it, go through it. Assign names to callers. Tier this operation so that you can really focus your efforts on what's going to get you the most results.
Good. And then Kent, number 3.
Yeah, make sure your CRM is ready to handle the information that you're going to put in. I mentioned those earlier, but yeah, make it a non-negotiable time. Put that stuff in there.
That's good. Okay, so print the script, identify your top 50, set up your system. So here's my challenge to everybody on the call. Start with 10 calls, just 10 calls, use the script, and watch what happens. You're going to be amazed how donors respond when you simply say thank you and listen. Hey, we got a couple minutes. I want to do question and answer. I got a couple great questions here. Terry, thanks so much. Can you share more about leaving voicemails? What should be said in those? Do you find they have similar impact? All right, who wants to take that one?
Well, I'm
I
glad
absolutely.
to.
Go ahead, Rich. Go ahead.
Gary. Well, there's a ladder of effectiveness. We know that anytime you can meet with the donor, that's the best way to go. Then maybe a phone call, maybe a Zoom, voicemail, email. Voicemail certainly is an opportunity for a touch point. A lot of times you're going to get voicemail before you get the person. So I think there is some opportunity there to actually connect with the donor and express gratitude. And then you can follow up in another way, even on the voicemail. I call it contact clustering. So you might say, I'm going to follow up with an email and then follow up with an email after that. So multiple touch points if you don't get them in person.
Right. Anything else, Jerry?
Yeah, I was going to say that I think a phone call with a voicemail is still a touch, but it's a one-way touch. So at that point, it becomes about the messaging, and you want to think carefully about what you will say, because these days people are not only listening, but they also have On the iPhone, for example, they may have a literal transcription of your voicemail. So
Right.
you're going to really word yourself carefully and stick to a couple of really simple points. The main one is, we appreciate you. Thanks so much for giving. And when you do that, be as specific as possible and link it back to your mission and results. And if you do that, it will become an effective touch as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll add one thing also, Ron.
Go ahead, Kent.
Our focus here wants to be live. We want to talk to people. So I would not get lost in the weeds with the voicemails. My practice was always, I'd leave one voicemail saying I will give them a call back in a day or two. Then if I called back, I would just leave a voicemail thanking them. Don't get hung up. You want to talk to people.
Right. Got another question. Thanks again, Terry, for this question. So, who is the best person to make these calls? Can it be shared with various staff members, board members, and not always the chief executive and the development director? We kind of answered that, but let's answer that again.
Yeah, and I know Jerry talked about it, so I'll let Jerry speak more to that. But I would say it's a prioritization. A best practice with thanking is that somebody does it, and you do it quickly. You don't Terry, you don't wait along for that. So I would say you can have volunteers do it. You want to prioritize by the type of donor, maybe even the size of gift. Go ahead, Jerry. I know you mentioned that a little bit earlier.
Well, I think engagement is key, whether we're talking about our donors, our volunteers, our board members. So I feel like if you can get a board member to sit down with a list of recent donors and just make thank you calls, you're cementing that board member's heart to your mission, and you're helping them really understand what you do in a day and why the relationship with donors are so important. And then when it comes time to spend money on your development program, that board member will be won over because they'll have had some really great conversations with donors, and they'll put faces and names to and experiences to some of the things you talk about in their board meetings.
Okay, this is great.
I'll
Right.
add one more, Ron.
Okay.
In a school setting, staff and students are ideal to make these calls.
Right.
My wife and I gave to a Christian school where our grandparents went for years. And every year I could expect a thank you call from a student in December.
That's good. Okay, here's where we're at. You got three styles. You got Rich's conversational warmth, Jerry's enthusiastic energy, Kent's strategic depth. You got the simple script. You got a priority system. You've got a follow-up process. So the only question now is, are you going to do this? It's December 10th. Are you going to do this? So here's my challenge. My challenge is, Brent, go to the next slide. Oh no, come on, man. You're good. I love Brent. He's awesome. He put this together. He was scrambling like crazy. He is awesome. We love Brent. So here's the deal. Make your first call within 24 hours of this webinar ending. One call, one conversation is a future connection. I mean, December is now. Your donors are waiting. This is critical. You've got to do this, and we want you to prioritize it. So I'm going to give the guys one final words before we close out. So Rich, final words.
Yes. So just get after it. I mentioned before that print out the script. Let's start. Let's get things in motion. Thank yous are so critical for the relationship, and they're easy to do.
Jerry.
Well, my parting shot is, you've got to make these calls because the donors you call will remember you. And the ones that you don't, the statistics are at least half of them will forget you. So if you want to be remembered into 26 so that you can continue to count on donor support, make the calls.
And Kent.
I'll add this, no excuses. It's on you. If you're on this call and you're a development staff person, you're the CEO of the organization, maybe you're a board member, all of you should be involved in calling. If you are a board member and you don't have a list, talk to your chief development officer, your staff person tomorrow and start. I'll just share that I did this as a chief development officer in a ministry that I served, and you can make a ton of phone calls if you put your mind to it. I spent the last 2 weeks before Christmas from 5 to 9 p.m., 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, in my office making calls, and I made over 500 phone calls in those 10, 12 days. So you can do it. You just have to do it. It's hard work. It can be done, and it will pay off for you.
That's great. So what we said earlier, we want to reemphasize, December calls become January meetings. January meetings become spring events. Spring events become campaign prospects. So this is a path, a donor path that you're trying to lead these donors on. So perfect. So you're going to get 3 things in your email in the next hour. You're going to get the recording, you're going to get the slide deck, and you're going to get a link to answer a 5-question survey to receive our free thank you call toolkit. So in this toolkit, it's jam-packed. There's 30 pages of stuff. It's the Rich Cummins style, the Jerry Grimes style, the Kent Vanderwood style. We got call tracking notes. We got board member training, 1-pager, a lot of stuff. We want to give you this resource, and we're just so thankful that you joined us today. So thank you all for joining. One more thing, we have a quick poll before you go. We want you to answer this. When are you going to make your first call? Today, tomorrow, this week, or you need to think about it? Don't let this be another webinar. Don't let this just be a fun thing to do. Implement what you've learned. And if you have additional questions, email us, contact us in the, our contact info is in the download that we're going to give you. Okay, so today, tomorrow, this week, give me the results. What are the results? Let's see the result. Oh, there. Oh, today. Yes. Thank you. 70%. Yay. All right. So that's the spirit. And for those who said, I need to think about it. No. It's December 10th, man. The clock's ticking. Your donors are waiting. So thank you for being on our webinar today. We really appreciate that. Now, go thank a donor. God bless everybody.
Bye now.